everybody, my name is Griffin, and thank you so much for watching my first video. I just want to emphasize that this was really hastily put together thanks to the TikToks of my DIY and the overwhelming response of people wanting to build it. So a lot of my points may be a bit wishy-washy, I might not explain myself very well, so please, if you have any questions, do not be afraid to message me, tag me on Twitter, or come into my Twitch chats. I am always happy to help, and I really want you to have fun with these DIYs. Because there's a lot to this DIY, I have the following timestamps so you can jump to any point you need specifically, such as the player character creation, how to do the file template, and how to work your own world papercraft. So please, if you want to jump straight to any points, check them out. And now, without further ado, let's get into the DIY. Firstly, I hopped into Minecraft and made the thing that I was going to turn into my papercraft. You'll probably be using a base that you'd really like, but really you can go in creative and make whatever to go into your papercraft. So next I opened up Mineways. Basically what you're going to want to do is click on File, Open World, and select the world that contains the thing you want to turn into a papercraft. Once that's loaded, you can use left click to go to the thing that you want to be crafting and use right click to select a box around it. You may get an informational pop-up come up, just click OK, do not worry about it, it's just making sure you select the thing you wanted. So everything that's coloured purple here is what you've got selected and what will turn into the model. I didn't want the ground to be selected in this since I'm having it float on my wall. If you're having it be on a shelf or something, you probably will want the ground, but for my build, that was just not necessary. So I altered the depth to not include the ground, and the height already covered everything I wanted. If the thing that you're after is underground, you can adjust the depth and the height to capture something underground like a cave system. Next, you're going to want to go on File and then Export for rendering. The file type you're probably going to want is a OBJ, which is compatible with most 3D modeling programs I know. Now, you're going to have a dialog box come up. Don't worry, it should automatically be at the settings you need. I've taken a screenshot of the ones I use. You can edit around with these and play around to if any problems do occur, but I doubt you'll have any issues. Don't worry about the model size in this, you can fix that in pepakura. Now load up your model into any 3D modeling program you have available or you feel comfortable using. Now I personally use Autodesk Maya, it's what I'm mostly used to, so I won't be able to get advice on programs such as Blender, which is free, but I encourage you to Google around tutorials for how to do what I'm about to explain. Basically, you're going to want to select all faces, go into Edit Mesh, and click Merge. This will make every single block one model, and hopefully leave the insides fully hollow. I took the two fence posts and moved them upwards away from the normal model so I can add them in and not have to worry about them being part of the actual model itself, just to make things a bit less finicky around that joint. Once everything was merged together, I went to the back of the model and removed the entire back face. I didn't need any of these blocks since this papercraft would be going on my wall, so I just removed them to make things less complicated, and I made a replacement later, which I'll show you. You're then going to want to re-export that as a .obj, and now you can open pepakura. Using pepakura is really easy. To import your model, what you're going to want to do is click on File, Open, and then find the file of the object you want to use. You're going to have this little informational thing come up, don't worry about it, just click OK. When it asks you if you want to flip faces, you're going to want to click No Flip. This point is a little bit complicated, but don't worry, it's surprisingly easy. It's basically wanting to know which is the front of the model, and to choose that, see each of these colored sides, It's asking you which side is the actual front. So right now it thinks that this is the front, but the actual front, if we look closely, is green. So we're going to click the green. And then it does this sometimes, just click back, and then it'll be normal. I don't know why it does that. I might just be stupid, but just click finish now. This is basically how we're going to select how big it is. I measured the exact spot I wanted to put this, and it came out to 28 centimeters. So I just put in 280, and that'll be 28 centimeters. But you can put in any scale you want. It's really handy to measure out the space that you're going to be putting your craft when it's finished. Using pepakura, you can even rescale my tree block to be smaller or bigger to suit your need. Now you can just click OK, and you'll have your model. Next, you're going to want to click unfold, and the next bit of the tutorial will just be explaining to you how unfolding is going to work. Your main tool of use is join/disjoin face, and now you can just start doing it. Easy peasy. Pepakura is a free program that turns any 3D models into a papercraft pattern. This program saves my life, and if you have any interest in papercraft, I highly suggest this. You can even go online, find models of your favorite characters, run it through Pep, and just make anything you want. It's amazing, and I absolutely love using it. Now, when you initially import it into Pepakura, all of your graphics are going to be very blurry. This is because it has an inbuilt anti-aliasing filter to try and get rid of pixelization. However, because we're doing Minecraft where everything is pixels, that goes against what we really want. To get rid of that, click on Setting, Other Settings, Advanced, and uncheck Smooth Texture Image. This should immediately fix it. Don't worry if your program crashes when it does this. I had a few crashes when I was trying to disable it, but once it's done, and you should be all set. While Pep is an amazing program, it makes some doofy mistakes. So what you're seeing me do here is I'm using a join, disjoin edges tool to detach all of the faces and basically make them more simplistic, not fold over themselves, and just a lot more viable to work with. Then, once I have all the faces put together, I start trying to figure out how's going to be the best way of folding this to have the least hassle for me, and start joining different faces together to form a net. Papercraft is solely about these nets. It's just how they work. You fold them together and it'll make the shape you want. I like to imagine myself folding this as I do this process and figuring what's going to be a finicky fold to do and what's going to be confusing to cut around, because I've made some stupid mistakes cutting out Pepakura patterns. Some of my pieces were just too big to go onto one single piece of A4, so you can just easily split them in half and it makes it a lot easier. Take your time. I find this process very therapeutic and I love doing it, but I can understand how it can be daunting when you have tons and tons of little pieces to work through. That's why I really like to just get the basic faces down, as it just makes things into bite-sized chunks. Next, you can just export that as a PDF. I took mine into an editing program to just add on extra details like ladders and my rail cart, because I don't know how to bake those into the actual pattern itself. I'm sorry. I kept having glitches when I tried to put images into Pepakura, and I was too stupid to work in Maya, so this is the best I could do. And once it's exported to PDF, you can now safely print out your design and begin putting it together. So for this project, you're going to need your paper, some glue, and scissors, and that is it. You will need some cardboard later, but that's just to get it on a wall if you're putting it on a wall. What I did first is I found the big sections that I split into two pieces and put them together so they're one big piece again. One of the main things you're going to need to know when you're doing papercraft is mountain and valley creases. What I'm doing here is a mountain crease. This means that I'm folding this section inwards, and it's represented by a solid dotted line. You can see what I mean by inwards in this little example here. Then I just continue cutting out my design. You're going to want to pre-fold every single crease. This is what's going to give you a nice clean edge. Here is a good example of a valley fold, which is you fold it outwards. You can see the funky little design. It's a dash and a dot, dash and a dot. Keep a close eye on what kind of fold you're doing. It kind of tells you how to piece things together, and it's really useful to see. Now the rest of the project is just the same thing. Cut things out, fold the folds, and just keep an eye on exactly how it folds. As you go along, you'll be able to start piecing the pieces together. My big advice is to have pepakura open as you fold things, and you'll be able to just see how things slot together. And if you export your file into read-only mode, you should be able to just hover your mouse over the edges and it'll tell you exactly which edge that correlates to. You're probably going to want to be patient and have something to watch as you do this. This is really therapeutic, but mine did take me one whole day to complete, and it is quite finicky. If your fingers or hands hurt at any point, I highly encourage you to take breaks. Patience is key. This is a project that's meant to be fun, okay? I eventually got to the point where my project was too big for my workspace. I kept trying to back up the camera to record it as I went, but it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So I ended up not being able to record the entire construction. I'm really sorry about that. I tried my best, but it's okay because you just need to follow pepakura. You don't need to see how I do it. And this is the final completed build. It's a bit barren, but later in the video I'll explain to you how to populate this little scene. Now, if you were building a house or something that you'll be putting on a shelf or on the floor, you'll be pretty much done here. You can pop it up wherever you go. I'm a bit ambitious and mine's going on a wall, so here's my advice for how I did it. You may be able to find easier ways if you ask an adult or look around. This is just how I did it. So what I did is I got 2 big chunks of cardboard and traced around the general shape of my design. I only needed to trace it on one side, cut that out, and use that as a pattern to trace the other. Now, if you're doing the cardboard method, my big advice is to have the directions of the cardboard facing 2 different ways. This will add a little bit of integrity to your structure. I then glued both sides together and cut out little slots for hooks to go through. And then using hot glue, I just glued all of the paper to the cardboard. In Minecraft, you have 2 different types of models, the Steve model and the Alex model. Alex models are a little bit thinner, so it's really important that you know which one the skin you're going to be turning into a papercraft is. For example, my skin is the Alex model, so I have a lot of extra pieces. The Steve model is a lot simpler to make, while the Alex looks a bit nicer in my opinion. It just has some extra details that can be a little bit fiddly. Also, if this size of the doll isn't exactly what you want, or if you want it bigger or smaller, you can easily just size up and down the template you're using, and really you can make a doll as big as you are if you have enough brain power, and you can do a lot of creative things with these. I fully encourage you to mess around my template and see what works. If you're someone like me and absolutely loves Minecraft YouTubers, I fully encourage you to take their skins and turn them into papercrafts so you have little versions of them that you can decorate your room with. I know a lot of people, such as myself, just can't afford all the YouTooz and stuff people come out with, so I really wanted to make a cost-effective solution to YouTuber merchandise that promotes your own creativity so you've earned having it, and just shows your favorite things. I'm a big example of maximalism. I cover my room in the things that make me happy, and that's just how I live, and I fully want to encourage you to do that. Now, in my voiceover for the next bit, I don't really explain very well how the Steve model works. Basically, everything's the same, just ignore whenever I mention the outer body bits. Only Alex dolls have them, and when you're filling out the template and you're using the Steve one, you won't even have the option to like put them into the template, so do not worry. You also have two options when making these. You can make your character articulated, which means that each body part kind of moves around. This is really hard to show off one-handed. I need to get a mic stand. But, yeah, you can move them around. That's what I mean by articulation, and these require little paper pins. And because of the nature of the pins, it might not be suitable for younger children to use them, as they're a little bit sharp. And also, just if you're like me and dyspraxic and can't use your fingers very well, it might be very awkward to use, and generally just a bit finicky. So don't worry, if you want to make yours static, just ignore any mentions of the paper fasteners, and you'll be able to just do the exact same. You just glue all the pieces together at the end. Now, moving to the player dolls. In the description, I have 2 player templates to use. You can use your own skins on these, or I fully encourage you to go to different YouTubers you like and just make your own merchandise of them to have. My main goal with this project is to be able to give people a cheap solution to just having merchandise and dolls and little decorations of your favorite things. Basically, what you're going to want to do is go into your skin and basically copy and paste everything into the template and match it to the template. You're going to want to cover up all color of the template itself, but don't worry about if things aren't pixel perfect. You won't be able to see it once it's all printed out anyway. So as you can see on my build, some of the pixels on the body don't match up with each other. That is fine. You won't notice it in real life anyway, and you can do little editing around to fix it all up. Don't worry, as long as the template colors are hidden, you should be fine. The top section of the Alex skin is your inner body pieces, and the bottom section is your outer pieces that will appear on top. Now, what you see me doing with the legs is the purple squares represent pieces of the torso. So the color of the square below the purple is the side of the body you're going to want to take a corner from. And as you can see, I just snip a square of the corner and put it over the purple square. This is where your legs are going to attach to your body if you choose to have it articulated. If you're not going to have it articulated, just remove the purple square and you do not have to worry about it. Doing this without articulation is a lot easier, so if you're a child who doesn't have much dexterity, I fully encourage you just to go with the basics. Now with my skin, I take a lot of artistic liberties. I make the back of the hair attached to the head instead of the body, just so it looks a bit nicer. I fully encourage you to experiment around and try and make this unique and customized to yourself. It's really fun to mess around in. I hope some of my ideas inspire you. You're not in the restrictions of Minecraft anymore, so you can have things coming off of the character and it will look really cool by the end. I promise you, have fun and go wild. And while I'm editing it so I can have some artistic liberties, I'm going through and removing bits of the template that I just want to be transparent and cut off by the end. You can make new tabs as you go if bits of your body just are transparent in some areas, and especially on the Alex skins, just have fun with it and experiment. And now you can just print it off. Now for the player, you're going to need your print, some glue, your scissors, and if you're going to have it articulated, you're going to want paper fasteners. I start off by cutting out the head very gently. I don't do this here, but I fully encourage you to poke your paper fastener through the bottom of your head while you can here, because it's a huge hassle when you try and do it later like I'm about to. You're also going to want to pre-crease each of your edges. This will give it a nice clean look. And then once everything's folded, you can now just glue each of the tabs to each of the sides and create a box. If you're not going to have it articulated, ignore the paper fasteners mentioned, ignore poking them through. You don't need them if you're not going to articulate it. And if you aren't going to articulate it, you can close off your body pieces. Now, I'll just poke through my paper fastener, which I should have done earlier, and just finagle it and have stress with it. Remember, if you're doing it articulated, you want to leave the back panels open. Next, I just rinse and repeat the process on the body. We don't need to worry about paper fasteners at this point. Remember to leave the back of the body open. Moving on to the legs. My legs have a little error here. Don't worry about my extra tabs. This is a test piece and I fixed that for your versions. You're going to want to do the same, but this time you can close off the back and just make sure you leave the hip piece be. You can see me using some scissors just to flatten things out and make it really neat. Repeat the same with the other leg. Now moving on to the arms, it's practically the same as everything else, just remember to leave the back piece open for these. Now for the arms, you're going to want to cut them and start to pre-crease them. Then, if you're going to have it articulated, you're going to pop in the paper fasteners to the shoulders where you're going to have it connect to the body. Once you've pierced the holes, you can glue it together. Remember to leave the back open. You can take out the fastener while you're gluing everything together, just pop it in when you're finished. Remember, leave the back open. Here you can see me using the other one just to figure out exactly where I need the hole to go. Next, I'm going to cut out the feet. Here you can see I'm making a custom tab. If it's really small, you can just make your tab a triangle. I advise against square tabs as they can just be a little bit more finicky to pop into place. And then I just gently fold that all up. Now, I just apply a bit of glue to the bottom of my foot and step into the shoe. It's a snug fit for me, but I should have fixed that for your version of the template. You just want to slide on your outer leg piece if you're using an Alex skin. And then it's just rinse and repeat for the other outer leg. If you're a Steve player, you should have been done at this point. Now for my cardigan, since I want this bit to just be transparent, I'm just cutting out all of the white and having a custom thing. Then you can just fold and glue it together like normal. Just remember to leave the back open if you're having it articulated. If you're not having it articulated, don't worry, you can close this and just slide it onto your body piece. Now, if you're having it be articulated, you're going to use the paper fasteners to poke out leg holes in the hips. Now, if you're having it articulated, you're going to want to poke it through the hip tabs of the legs. Then to connect it all, just poke it through the torso and then through the leg. So it kind of looks like this. You can see me finagling around with it a little bit because it's a bit fussy, but I eventually get there. Now you can just pry the fastener open and it should keep your leg in place and you should be able to move it around now. Then it's just rinse and repeat for the other leg. Here I realized I made it just a touch too high, so I just delicately took the leg off and removed the paper fastener and used my scissors just to gently open the hole a bit wider. This is a bit ugly, but you can reprint it if it does look really garish to you. All fixed. Now we're going to use a paper fastener to just pierce a little slot in the neck where our head is going to attach. We're just going to pop the head on and then spread the paper fastener to keep it in place. I closed up the back of my head and just turned it backwards so it won't be in the way. At this point, we have a really good example of how this doll's gonna look like. Now, if you're using an Alex skin, it's pretty much gonna be a rinse and repeat job. Just fold together your arms, leaving open the back. Now back to if you're going to use an Alex skin, cut out your outer arm pieces, and then you should be able to just fold it up, pierce it onto the arm, and you're going to want to assemble it while it's on the arm. This is really complex, but I promise you it's going to be fine. Using a paper fastener, you're also going to want to poke open the holes in the body for where the arm's going to connect. I test out movement a little bit, and now you can fully close up your arms. Then it's just rinse and repeat on the other arm. Now, my arms are a little too small, so there's a lot of white, but I should have that fixed in the template. Don't worry about it. That's my own error. And once that's attached, you can now close up the back of the body and you're almost there. Now I'm just gonna cut out the headwear. Mine are just two little 2D pieces, but yours may be a little helmet that you can just slide on. If it is a little helmet, seriously just put some glue at the top of your head and just slide it on. Don't worry about it, it should be easy. Now, if you haven't elected to make yours articulated, you can just glue each piece together at the joints. You could even glue them into a set pose. And now we have our adorable little doll. Please show me the ones you make. I really want to see more of these. Now, at this point, our scene is really barren, but that's okay because using creativity, we can improve it. Going onto Google and searching Minecraft papercraft patterns, we're able to find dozens and dozens of community-made patterns that we can use in our own builds. Seriously, any mob, block, or item you can think of has a papercraft equivalent that you can use. And using ones I found online, I was able to spice up our scene to look like this. I was even able to print out a little pickaxe that our miniature player can hold by sliding it into the sleeve of her cardigan. I made tiny little mushrooms and flowers that are 2D, but they make a nice little effect. I even made little signs of my own custom-made pattern and put some funny little memes on them to make me happy. You can get really creative with signs, they're a good shout to have. Using some sellotape and string, I was able to hang a bat from the roof of the cave. You could even use other figurines, such as Miku or Sonia Nevermind. Really, the creativity is endless, and I super encourage you to just experiment and have fun and show your creativity with personalizing the scene to yourself. I really want to thank you for watching my video. I worked really hard on this. This was a lot of trouble to do, and I'm really excited to make more. I really want to focus on nature and crafts, and I will be working on more Minecraft tutorials in the future. So please consider subscribing if you enjoyed this, and also feel free to check out my Twitter, Twitch, or TikTok, as I make similar kinds of content there. If you have any suggestions for crafts you want to see me do or make or tutorials, please let me know. I'm more than happy to teach people how to do creative things. I really want to encourage people just to create and do things. I made this entire thing just because I got bored. And please, if you create something, please tag me in the results. I really want to see what you make. I absolutely love it, and it would mean a lot to me to see the things I created templates for used in other people's houses made by their very own hands. So please don't be afraid to tag me. I want to see it. And please, I cannot emphasize enough how much it means to me that you watched my video and had the patience and the time. So I really hope I can see you again in my next video, and I'll see you another time hopefully. Bye!